What up, what up, what up? How are y'all doing? I'm doing great as usual. Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to the notorious B.I.G. 24 years ago today, we lost a great one. And I'm assuming, just like myself, he is one of you guys' favorite artists. So, shout out to B.I.G.'s family, all of his friends, and we missed the big guy. But, to the matter at hand, Gary Russell Jr. versus Ray Vargas. And a question I have for all you guys out there. Do we care? Do we care? I mean, really. I'm getting to the point with Gary Russell Jr. that I'm starting to find myself not caring. And it sucks because he's a great fighter. I like the way he fights. And that's about it. I hate the fact that he's not active. I hate the fact that he's a social media tough guy. He calls out everybody on social media, but never fights anyone. Now, he has a bunch of fights in his division that he could have. Josh Warrington before he lost. He could fight Kid Galahad. He could move up and fight Gervonta Tank Davis, Oscar Valdez. Maybe even a rematch of Lomachenko, even though Lomachenko schooled him. There's plenty of fights for Gary Russell out there, and we just don't see him. We don't see him make any of those fights. Now, it's different if you fight once a year, because you're a champion. Some champions fight, most champions fight twice a year, but if you want to fight once a year, that's fine. But you got to give us that one major fight a year if you're going to fight once a year. I mean, he's 32 years old now. He's wasted the last 5 years of his career, 6 years of his career. And now he's facing Ray Vargas. It's a good fighter. But Ray Vargas has been out of the ring for 2 years. He's coming off a leg injury. A broken leg, I think, as a matter of fact. And he's coming up from a lower weight class. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis just fought Leo Santa Cruz. And Leo Santa Cruz came up from a smaller weight class. Now, ask yourself, why can't Gary Russell jump up and fight Tank? Why didn't Gary Russell fight Leo Santa Cruz? Like, who are these guys that he's fighting? The only one, the last couple that I can remember was Jojo Diaz and Lomachenko. And Lomachenko schooled him. But he's still a great fighter. You don't even know if he's a great fighter now. He fights once a year, and I don't know anybody on his resume. Literally. I mean, I don't know every little thing about the lower weight classes, but I mean, come on. Let's take a look at his box rec real quick. Check this out. See if I can do this right in my little makeshift studio here. Alright, I think I got it up here for you. Gary Russell, 31-1. 32 bouts. He made his debut in 2009. Alright, so let's go down here. See what we're working with. Alright, Nayam Bayar. Sounds familiar maybe? I don't know. 2020. He fought this guy 11-0. for the WBC title. A year before that, he fought Kiko Martinez, 39-8. When's the last time we saw a champion fight a guy with 8 losses? I mean, I'm sure it happens once in a while, but come on, Gary Russell Jr. Then the fight before that, a year earlier before that, 2018, Jojo Diaz, unanimous decisions. It's a great win. Then we go a year before that, Oscar Escandon, 25-2. Technical knockout. A year before that, Patrick Hyland, 31-1. Now listen, I follow boxing. I'm a huge fan of the sport. But I mean, some of these guys, I'd probably recognize them by face. But I mean, Patrick Hyland, 31-1. I can't picture his face off the top of my head. I just can't. We go a year before that. He fought another guy. 57-8. Johnny Gonzalez. So since he's been champion, so he's fought once a year since 2015. And 2 of those opponents both had 8 losses. Kiko Martinez had 8 losses, and this Johnny Gonzalez had 8 losses. And then 2014 was his last active year. He fought 3 times in 2014. I don't really want to call it 3 times because he fought this guy, Jose Miguel Tamayo, who had more losses than he had wins. 16 wins, 23 losses. He fought Lomachenko, who was 1-1 at the time, and got his head kicked in. And then he fought Christopher Martin, who had 4 losses. I mean, Gary Russell Jr., you got to do better than this, homie. You're 32 years old now. I mean, you're coming up. You're coming up on... You're coming up in the twilight years, brother. You're 32 years old. Why can't we fight Tank? Huh? Why can't we make an offer to Oscar Valdez? Are you going to wait until Kid Galahad wins the vacant title and go after Kid Galahad? How come we never saw you and Josh Warrington fight? How come we never saw you fight Leo Santa Cruz? Like, Tank and Santa Cruz are PBC fighters. That should have been done. That should have been easy. Easy. But, I don't know. It's too bad. I like Gary Russell Jr. I like his fighting style. I like the way he fights. I hate the fact that he fights once a year. I hate the fact that if he does fight once a year, we don't know these guys. And I hate the fact that after all this time, we couldn't have jumped up once to grab a big name. We just saw Leo Santa Cruz do it. He jumped up. He took a risk. Why don't you jump? Gary Russell Jr., why don't you jump? Why don't you fight more than once a year? How about that? Give us one shitty fight and then one good fight. If you're going to fight once a year, you got to fight the biggest name out there. And by the looks of it, you're just not doing it. So those are my thoughts on Gary Russell Jr. and Ray Vargas. I mean, what do you guys think? Am I going nuts here? Am I delusional? I mean, that's that record that we just went over, that resume, that's the epitome of the best not fighting the best. I don't think I saw one unification on his list. No, there wasn't. Not one. I mean, what are we doing here, guy? 32 years old. You're going to fight Ray Vargas, who's a weight class below you, who's coming off a leg injury, who's been out of the ring for 2 years. And then what? We're not going to see you until 2022? By then, Tank Davis is going to be at 154. I mean, really. So, just my little rant, guys. I don't want to come off as a hater, but I mean, it's really hard to hate that resume and what. I don't know if it's his fault. I don't know if it's PBC's fault. I don't know what it is. Does the WBC got to mandate some of these other fighters for the fights to happen? I mean, I just don't get it. So, yeah, not trying to be a hater, but damn, it's really hard. This week's bandwagon fight, or I should say, this video's bandwagon fight, I'm going to give you a recent fight. If you haven't seen it, or if you're a casual fan, this is a good fight for you to watch. Because one of these guys, or I think both of these guys, got upcoming fights. I don't know if Maurice Hooker has been announced yet. But I know for a fact on May 22nd, Josh Taylor is fighting Jose Ramirez. The fight that you guys should check out is Jose Ramirez versus Maurice Hooker. Man, was that a battle as long as it lasted. It was a great fight. So, that's my bandwagon fight for the video. What I need you guys to do is please like, subscribe, and also share. I want to get my videos out there. I want to get a bigger audience so I can have more fun going live with you guys. So everybody out there, I hope you and yours are well. This is Moore's House. Peace.